guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel and today's ear tutorial. So today's ears are a little bit different. I am wearing them now. I was really inspired to make a fascinator, which is what these little hats are called, because when Dapper Day kind of came and went in April and we couldn't even go. Not that I was gonna be able to go, it's fine. There is another Dapper Day in November and hopefully everything will kind of be calmed down and we can enjoy the parks once more. But either way, I wanted to film this tutorial. I also thought this would be really cute as a Halloween video, but I just couldn't wait to post it. So as you can see, these are Evil Queen inspired. And this whole fascinator is completely DIY. So it's all made from things that I already had in my craft room, with the exception of the little crown that I did purchase. We'll get into that in the video. But anyway, my point is that there is other ways to make fascinators with pre-made materials, which I think I might do in a later video just to see which one kind of turns out better. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I am planning on doing a couple more of these videos and I thought it would be really cute to do a Snow White version of the fascinator so that I've got the Evil Queen and Snow White. So again, make sure you're subscribed and that you've rung that notification bell so that you don't miss out when that video comes. And without further ado, let's jump into this tutorial.
Okay, so starting out with the template for the fascinator, I will be making my own, but just so you know, you can actually order these fascinator shapes on Amazon and you get like 6 in a pack or something. I just wanted to make my own because I thought that would be more helpful to you guys. So I have this template in the description box below. Mine's made of craft foam, but feel free to cut yours out of paper. And then I'm just tracing it onto the actual piece of craft foam that I'll be using for this fascinator hat. I chose to use black because it went along with the Evil Queen motif that I'll be doing, but obviously pick a color that best coordinates with your fabric and stuff. I decided not to cover up the inside of mine with fabric. You always could do that if you don't like the color of the craft foam. And then after you've traced it, just go ahead and cut it out with your scissors. I would suggest using a slightly firmer craft foam if you can find one. If yours is super flimsy, maybe think of doubling it up. And then once you have it cut out, just snip about an inch, maybe a little over an inch, in the center of the rounded half of it. That's how we're going to create kind of the dome shape of the hat. So you're gonna fold it. I feel like watching this more than listening to me is helpful right now. But you're gonna kind of fold it and then put a little bit of hot glue on the folded part. But the goal of this is that you are making the hat pop up and be more like a hat than a flat piece of foam. Now, hot glue does take a good bit to dry with craft foam. You don't need to use a whole lot. I actually ended up using a little too much and mine squished out and I had to clean it up. Just be careful, because if you're going to burn yourself, this is definitely a moment you might. And don't, because that's bad. Okay, moving on. So to fabric, I will be using this I have a black one I'm showing you guys, but I chose to go with purple. I am going to be using a purple. I don't know exactly what type of fabric this is, if it is like technically a velour or if it's crushed velvet, but it's got that velvety feel to it. I actually used this fabric in my Sarah Sanderson ear tutorial that I did last Halloween. I'll have that linked in the description box below if you guys want to see it. That way you can get your use out of this fabric. So I'm just kind of using the edge of it and I'm going to be gluing this toward the inside of the hat, obviously to cover the top of it. Now if you're wanting to cover the inside of your hat, I would cover the inside first, then cover the outside. So just doing this in small sections, I'm applying a little bit of hot glue. Again, hot glue takes longer to dry on craft foam, so you've got some time when you're placing it down. My hot glue gun was also on its like super hot setting at this moment, so I kind of needed it to dry a little bit. And then I'm just going to fold over the edge and tap it down into the glue. Now what I found to be really helpful with this was to work from one side to the next. So instead of just gluing all along the same side, just kind of shift your fabric around to measure it out, and then you're going to tack it down in different quadrants of the hat. I hope I'm making sense. You guys will see in a second. But this way you keep the fabric stretched the way that you want it instead of it getting bunched up or folded in wrong areas. So as you can see, I'm now gluing on the opposite side in a different location to keep that fabric tight. Now, learning from my mistakes, I actually think it might be easier maybe to start on the dome, like the the popped up part of the hat. I'm not really sure, but I did get kind of a teeny little fold in the back of my hat. It didn't bother me, but just so you guys know. And then I'm just continuing along the edge of my hat, hot gluing down the edges, and then I'm going to snip off the excess as I'm working. If I'm not making sense, or if you guys do have any questions, you can always leave them for me in the comments below or message me on Instagram. It's just Dream It DIY. I love helping you guys out and letting you know my opinions, and I love seeing when you guys recreate tutorials. So please go follow me over there and shoot me a message. So as you can see, I'm just continuing around the edges of the hat and just snipping off the excess as I work. Again, I'm not too worried about the underneath side of my hat looking pretty because it's going to be against my head. If you are worried about it, I always say a little bit of trim goes a long way. You can always add some trim to the inside of the hat and it makes it look a lot more cleaned up. Just so you guys know, please subscribe to my channel because I am planning on doing a couple more of these Fascinator DIYs, maybe a Snow White one to go along with the Evil Queen. I'm not sure yet. If you guys have any requests for ideas, let me know in the comments. But you want to make sure that you're subscribed and that you've rung that notification bell so that you don't miss out when the next tutorial comes out. So now that I've got it all covered, I'm going to move on to the next step, which is trim. So like I said, a little trim goes a long way. I have this really gorgeous trim from Hobby Lobby. I picked it up forever ago. They do still have it as far as I know. They've had it for actually a long time. But it's very villain looking. My biggest suggestion to you is whatever motif you're going with is that your trim is a little bit on the larger side and that it has a good texture to it. I think that that's really what sets trims apart in projects like this, is that they're not just like a flat ribbon, but that they have a good texture to them. So I'm just starting on the back end of the hat and I'm just going to use my hot glue gun to do this section by section and just tap down the trim as I'm going. And then once you have that last section glued down, you're just going to snip off the excess and probably have to add just a teeny bit more glue to get down your edges. And now we're going to move on to the next part. So the reason I decided to make this whole thing was because I found this little Evil Queen crown comb from Hot Topic, and it was super clearance, so like from $12 to $3 or $4. It is still on sale. I'm not sure if it's as big of a sale as I got it for, but if you guys want to pick it up, it is still online on sale. So I'm going to take the comb part and bend it backwards, and this is actually going to be how I attach it to the hat. So don't clip the comb off, you just want to bend it. And you do want it to kind of go at an incline because it'll sit better on top of the hat. And I originally thought I was just going to hot glue it, but I did end up using E6000 along with it because I really wanted to make sure that it was on there nice and securely. So moving on to the ears, we're actually going to be using my child size ear template that I made for you guys. I have this in the description box below along with the Fascinator template if you need to print it. I did trim these down a teeny bit from what they used to be, so if you guys are working off of an old ear template that I had, these are a teeny bit shorter. So I'm going to fold my craft foam in half and then glue down just the center part of the ear. This is very important. You do not want to glue down the edge. I do want to double layer the foam because it's not quite thick enough for the ear. but I don't want the edges to be glued down, and you're going to see why when we go to cover them with the fabric. So again, I just folded my craft foam over and put glue only in the center of the ear to double layer it, and then I'm cutting 2 of these out. So for the fabric, instead of using my normal templates, I just decided to kind of do a loose tracing around the edges of this. It wasn't quite as important that I have it perfect because I'm not going to be stuffing these, so I will be able to pull them tight. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the 2 sides of the fabric. You will need 4 of these all together for both ears, so 2 per ear. So to attach these, the reason I told you not to glue down the edges is because that's actually how we're going to attach the fabric. So we're going to fold up the edge of one of the ears and then add a little bit of hot glue and then press down our fabric onto the edge. And we're going to do this all along the edges. You don't need to worry about the bottom. You're going to close up the bottom too. I chose not to make the ears fluffy. I just don't think it looks as good in this style of ear. So again, these are going to be totally flat. Just fold up one ear a little bit, add a little glue, and then tap down your fabric. And then once you've gone all the way around and you have one side of the ear covered, we are going to do the other side. So it's the exact same method. We're going to lay it down the other way, and then we're going to fold it up so we have a little bit of an opening. Add a little hot glue and then fold over the fabric. Just be careful not to burn yourself. I know that this part's a little bit tricky for some people. If it helps, I have used tweezers to do this before. You can also, if you've got any kind of like poking tool, like if you have like a silhouette or a cricket, that works too. And then you're going to repeat these steps for ear number 2. So now moving on to the trim for the ear, I picked up this trim from Dollar Tree. I actually showed this up close in a haul that I got, but the red side is exactly like the Evil Queen. She's got like that little medallion thing on her chest in the movie, and this reminded me so much of it, I had to use it. So I'm snipping it in half because I do only need one side of it, and the other side is actually orange, and I only wanted to use the red side. If you guys want to see this Dollar Tree haul, I will have it linked in the description box below for you. I picked up a lot of good stuff. And then I'm just going to be adding this trim to the edge of the ear. You could do the same black trim that you did along the edge, but I just thought this made it look a lot more like the Evil Queen specifically and not just like a generic villain. So I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue and then tapping the trim along the edge of the ear, and I'm going to do this for both of the ears. So now we're going to be placing the ears onto the fascinator. I'm going right at the point of where we kind of made that dome shape and then just putting them right up to the edge of the trim. I will say that placing these ears on this fascinator is so much easier than placing ears on a headband, so That's a positive. But I'm just going to apply a pretty good amount of hot glue and then firmly press it down. I will warn you, don't use too much because of course you don't want it to ooze out on the bottom. You might be able to do a design where you could add a trim on the bottom, but for this particular set I did not want a trim on the bottom of my ear, so I was really careful not to use too much hot glue. And then I would let it sit in your hand and fully dry. Glue has to set and kind of cure itself, so you want to make sure that you're allowing it enough time to do that. And then we're going to move on to attaching the crown. So I tacked it down with a little bit of hot glue, but I'm going to go in with my E6000, which is like a super heavy duty permanent glue, and I'm going to add some of that to the bottom of that comb, and then I'm also going to add a little bit of hot glue as well. Hot glue provides kind of an immediate bonding agent. The E6000 provides more of a permanent bonding agent, so this way it'll last longer, you can wear it multiple times and it's not going to fall apart on you. Again, be careful with your amounts of glue here. E6000 goes a really long way, so you don't need to use a whole lot, and you don't want it to ooze out everywhere and make your hat messy. So this next part is adding the actual clips. I'm just using these little alligator clips that I had in my house. I'm showing 2 here, but I did decide to add a third one, so I would suggest using 3. Now to glue these on, we're going to use a little bit of felt. So I just grabbed a little bit of black felt. I'm going to cut a strip, and then I'm going to have the clip kind of like eat the felt. So like put it between the clip when it's open, and then I'm going to turn it over on the back, add some hot glue, and then fold my felt over onto the clip. This is just giving it a felt bottom, which will, 1, help it not get stuck in your hair so bad, and 2, make it a lot easier to glue onto the hat. So do this again with your second clip and your third clip, and then we're going to attach them to the bottom of the hat. So now to glue these inside, of course you're going to glue the felt side down to the foam. I'm doing 2 toward the front, and then the third one I'm going to place toward the back, and you'll see that in a moment. The felt just provides a really good gluing foundation, I guess, for the clip, so I would highly suggest doing this felt step on these clips. So glue those 2 down, and I would actually suggest putting them pretty close together because they're easier to clip into your hair that way. And then this third one I'm going to glue toward the back because I needed something to make it a little bit sturdier when I'm putting it on my head, especially if it's like a windy day or something like that. And that pretty much does it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you end up creating your own fascinator, post it on Instagram and tag me at DreamItDIY because I would love to see it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!